The BBC lost their chairman today, but lost the plot years ago. Our state broadcaster, which scratches by on a cool £5 billion every year, £3 billion of which comes from grannies who are threatened with jail if they don't pay up, is today mired in a political crisis as their head honcho, Richard Sharp, who it turns out isn't very sharp, leaves the organisation. This after his £800,000 loan to, you guessed it, the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. This payment was deemed inappropriate, I'll say. As a reminder, of course, it is worth reflecting that our talented and charismatic ex-PM brings trouble wherever he goes. You can add the word scandal to Boris's many other middle names. So who should step into this row at the worst possible time for the organisation? Enter stage left, and from the political left, it's the highest paid star at the Beeb, Britain's most famous man of colour, ex-footballer Gary Lineker, who has tweeted the following: the BBC chairman should not be selected by the government of the day, not now, not ever. Lineker's reported promise to stay out of politics, given that he's an employee of the state broadcaster, lasted about 11 minutes. It's funny because I don't remember Gary Lineker complaining about new Labour-appointed chairmen under Tony Blair and Gordon Brown. The role of chairman has always been political, as is the role of Match of the Day presenter, by the looks of it. Ultimately, the Beeb have lost their chairman, but that's the least of their problems. The way that this job is appointed probably needs to be looked at, but that's once they've sorted out Auntie's myriad other issues, including tackling woke, finger-wagging storylines in shows like Doctor Who and Great Expectations, and tackling the centre-left sentiment of so much of their news coverage. Don't take my word for it. The political commentator Tom Seston and our very own Tom Harwood point out that a political scandal around the Warrington Borough Council's leader doesn't mention his political affiliations, a Labour politician. Seston points out that they have form on this. Now, take a look at these graphics that Seston has drawn up. On the left, you've got former Tory MP loses sexual assault appeal bid. Meanwhile, on the right of your image, MP convicted of harassment gets suspended sentence. No mention of her being a Labour MP. How about this one? On the left, ex-Tory, jailed for expenses fraud. Meanwhile, on the right, ex-Peterborough MP tells of prison struggles. Again, no mention of the Labour Party. And last but not least, on the left, Chris Pincher, new claims emerge against former Tory MP. Meanwhile, on the right, Jared O'Mara, former MP, jailed over £52,000 fraud to pay drug debt. You'll never guess which political party he represents. So the Beeb needs to nail political balance. The Beeb also needs to get rid, or at least axe the salaries of their overpaid talent and those executives who wouldn't command those fees in the private sector. And the Beeb should look after older stars like the popular Ken Bruce, the jewel in the crown of Radio 2, who has now gone, following in the footsteps of the brilliant Steve Wright, Vanessa Feltz and Simon Mayo. The Beeb need to stop criminalising non-payment of this tax and accept that forcing people to pay for a service many don't watch is completely wrong. It's my view that the BBC must stay, but the licence fee must go, go, go. It's time for the Beeb to remember not just its founding principles to inform, educate and entertain, but to commit properly to political neutrality and to get over Brexit. And to, as the British Broadcasting Corporation, actually big up Britain rather than sneering at the flag, which their breakfast TV presenters famously did, or ditching Land of Hope and Glory from last night at the proms. And the BBC has to once again represent all of the British people, not just a small pocket of them residing in Islington in North London. The BBC have lost their chairman today, but if they're not careful, in time, they'll lose a whole lot more than that.